When it comes to tools and things in the shop, I definitely think that quality matters. But I'm also a realist, and in my opinion, if it's a good buy and it's good quality, there's no reason to be a tool snob. So here are 5 things that you need to be buying from Harbor Freight. Probably my favorite consumable to purchase at Harbor Freight are staining pads. Jess actually gets mad at me because I'll buy a pack of these every time that I'm in there, and then the next thing you know, we've got like 10 packs backlogged in the cabinet. But at $2.99 for an 8-pack, they are the simplest and the cheapest way to apply stain. Sure, you can just use a t-shirt or a paper towel, but these staining pads are different. They're essentially a sponge wrapped in terry cloth, so they really soak up stain, which makes stain distribution a lot more even. Be sure and brush them off a little bit before using them because they have a few stray pieces of cloth on them sometimes when you first get them.
So speaking of consumables and staining, number 2 on our list are rubber gloves. Now, I never imagined that I would live in a world where I got excited about rubber gloves, but here I am. Anyways, we do a lot of finishing work, and consequently, we go through a lot of rubber gloves. We prefer the 5mm version for our needs, but they do have other options available. I know that Jeremy uses these for mechanic work, and he does complain that they do tear a little bit, but other than that, for staining and wipe-on poly, they're pretty perfect. Now, the prices on these have been all over the map over the past few years due to the pandemic. At one point, getting up towards like $20. But with that being said, we did buy a pack of 100 last week for $9.99. So that's way better.
If you've watched our shop tour video, this is probably a given, but I'm just gonna admit it. I love Harbor Freight clamps. There, I said it. I love them.
Are you just looking at things in the office and saying that you love them?
Honestly though, these clamps are the best bang for your buck in the clamp world. There are, however, a couple little things to keep in mind though. The big bar clamps are made of aluminum, so they do flex a little bit if you crank down on them too hard. But for normal projects, you shouldn't be doing that anyway. I find the longer the clamp, the more likely it will flex a bit. So for that reason, we just haven't gone beyond the 48-inch lengths with them. The only other thing that we dislike is that the little handles are made of like a bolt with an acorn nut, and then the acorn nut sometimes falls off, and then typically we lose that piece and end up having to crank them with a screwdriver. You can buy these clamps for about $11.49 for the 24-inch version, all the way up to about $16.99 for the 60-inch version, and that, my friends, is a steal. Their F-style clamps are fantastic as well. I would say that I use these the most because they're just so handy for everything. I only use the 6 and 12-inch versions, so I can't speak for any other lengths, but these two sizes are great. They're a little stronger built than the aluminum bar clamps, and they also come with a plastic protector piece on the clamp jaws that I just typically immediately lose. But other than that, they have a ton of holding power, and they're simple to use. They're dirt cheap too at $2.99 for a 6-inch version, and this 12-inch version is $3.99. That price still blows me away. A 12-inch Irwin clamp from Lowe's is $12.99. I'm sure it's better in some way, but considering you can throw away 3 of these and still have less money involved, I can't imagine why you'd buy anything else.
This central pneumatic hose reel is next up on our list. It is great. It's also very heavy, like really heavy. Like you'll probably want a hand in installing it heavy. We attached ours to a couple of 2x6s and then attached that to the wall. It comes with a 50-foot 3/8 hose pre-installed, and after 10 years, the only issues that we've had is this short piece that comes down. It did fail after a couple of years. Now at this point though, I really don't know what we do without this thing. It just makes all of our pneumatic needs so simple, and when we don't need it, it's up and out of the way. Just be sure when you do install it to make sure you mount it so that you don't bump your head. It runs about $80 at Harbor Freight, and a similar Cobalt hose reel from Lowe's is $119 and has about 3.5 star rating, while the Harbor Freight brand has 4.5 star rating.
For my day job, I work in the electrical and telecom field, so I'm a Klein guy through and through. But honestly, Harbor Freight screwdrivers are pretty dang good. Their price point is so low that if you lose one or a certain dog chews one up, I'm looking at you, Frankie, you can replace them pretty easily. Again, they're not Klein quality, but for the average DIYer, they're pretty hard to beat. I know that Harbor Freight carries several different lines, but so far, I prefer this particular one from Pittsburgh Tools simply for its ergonomics. You can buy a number 2 Phillips screwdriver from Pittsburgh for $1.89. Yeah, $1.89. Compare that to $4.87 for a Husky screwdriver or $9.49 for a Klein from Home Depot, and then let that sink in. And if you just want to buy an 8-piece and have both Phillips and flathead, it's a whopping $9.99. Again, if you're a pro, then you may want to spend the money and buy Klein or Greenlee. But if you're just an average weekend warrior, these are pretty awesome.
Unless you've just got money to burn, these are 5 things that you need to be buying from Harbor Freight. I would dare to say there's no reason to buy otherwise. Tell me your favorite Harbor Freight buys in the comments below. And if you're needing suggestions on everyday tools that we feel like every homeowner should have, check out this video.